Hi everyone. Today I'm going to be reviewing Demon Days by Gorillaz. Gorillaz is it's sort of a partnership between Damon Albarn, best known for being the headman for the frontman for Blur, and uh, Jamie Hewlett, I believe, is the artist's name who draws all the characters. It's the world's first like super popular virtual hip hop group. Even though they're quite a bit more than hip hop, they do all sorts of genre fusions. Uh, on this album, they go with just minimal rock influence. It's still there, but a lot of pop, some alt rock, like I said, um, some orchestral bits. Uh, yeah, it's sort of hard to describe all the different genres they fuse because they fuse so many, and what comes out of it is something that sounds almost completely unique to Gorillaz. This is, I believe, their most popular album to come out, unless one of their newer albums beat it in sales, but I don't find that likely because it's just a fantastic album. But everything on here is extremely cartoonish, which matches sort of their aesthetic. Uh, yeah, so let's just get into the track list. So starting out, we have the intro. Not much to say. It has this. I believe they sampled like a menu screen for like a cosmic horror game, and they sort of looped it over itself to get like this sort of dark and mysterious intro that sounds fantastic. It's a perfect setup, and it sort of flows into Last Living Souls, which has this nice, almost like jungle rhythm to it, and it has these cartoony synths like most of the tracks on here, and these nice vocal lines. And as it keeps building, eventually it all cuts out, and then we get these beautiful strings that play the main melody. Just a fantastic track. And then after that is Kids with Guns. Um, the beat on here is very good as well. It's is sort of how it goes, but after the first verse, there's this sort of uh, like synthesized sort of fall off. I guess that's the best way to put it. That goes into the like a building of the verse, but it sounds really cool. And then when it happens after the second verse, you're expecting another verse, but instead it just hits you with this fantastically written chorus. Uh, and then every time it does it from then on, it goes into the chorus, and it has the chorus, the post chorus has these great whoa whoas and guitar lines after. And then the instrumental outro is also really great on this song with these really loud cymbals and all these like pretty much everything on the track coming together to give it a really nice closing. And then Oh Green World has this nice swing to it, and the main melody of the track is actually carried by the sort of the backing vocals of this. That's also really fantastic. Um, and there's sort of this weird like screeching all throughout it, this sort of distortion that sounds really great. None of this is like like way too polished. Even though I do think it's I consider it a pop album, sort of alternative as well. It never feels like it's super polished. There's always this level of distortion in all the songs that's really nice, sort of a bit of grime. Uh, and then after that is Dirty Harry, which feels very much like sort of like a deserty. It has like a deserty vibe to it. Uh, I don't know exactly what makes it sound deserty, but I think it definitely has something to do with the synthesizers that play over it, um, and the drum beat as well. And there's also these claps that go along of just obviously that's what claps sound like, but they don't. It doesn't sound like it's trying to pressure you into clapping. It's not like hey, this is the part where you clap. It sort of feels like something that's there, and you can clap along if you feel like it because it's pretty catchy. But it's not like annoying with the claps. In fact, you barely even notice it until like a couple listens. It also has these great children's vocals throughout it. But about halfway through, we get this nice this nice string line that leads us into sort of like a minor beat switch up where they add more distortion and stuff, and we get a nice rap verse, rap feature. And then the children go in with one more sort of hook, and then you hear all this laughing, and then one laugh comes in, and it sort of feels like it's just descending again into Feel Good Inc. And this is such an iconic track. It is a fantastic song, easily one of my favorite on this album, and one of my favorite pop songs of all time. It's got this really dark, like grimy vibe to it at first, especially with the bass lines, and the singing, the lyrics about sort of using sort of the, at least my interpretation of like how like using drugs to be happy is sort of like fake happiness. You're not actually happy, and then on the fantastic chorus where it switches into like this. There's all this like vinyl crackle, and the bass line goes away, and there's just guitars, sort of about the only true way of finding happiness is love, which is it's corny, but it's also like kind of true. Like you like it's like it get stepping away from artificiality to find real happiness is always just a great song topic, and it doesn't ever feel cliched on here because of the way the lyrics are written. And the rap verse from De La Soul on here is also just incredible. The structure on here, I'm just keeping on adding things about what I like to this about this song, but there's just so much to like. Everything is great. The structure of going from like grime to beautiful chorus to like sort of back to the grime with De La Soul's feature, and then back to the nice chorus is it's just really well written and everything. Also, the laughing throughout is like so iconic. It's whoever did the laughing, I believe it was one of the De La Soul rappers, did an amazing job. And then after that, El Manana is quite sad with all its keyboards and all. Especially towards the end. But following that, Every Planet we Reach is Dead has this great production on it with sort of this booming kick at every beat, and as it sort of progresses, like there just keeps on adding more and more instrumentation until there's just all this noise around it. In fact, it almost reminds me of like maybe a Swan song or something if it didn't have a super long build up to it. But there's just so much going on. You have like these electronic, like synthy sounds. You have these rolling pianos. You have these crashing cymbals, and all throughout you just have this boom, 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 boom. Yeah. November Has Come is a pretty low key moment on this album, but it still has a fantastic verse from MF Doom, R.I.P. This verse is like I said, it's just great the way he. If you're familiar with MF Doom, it sounds just like a lot of his best work. He just has such a way with words and rhyming them with each other. Even if he's not saying anything that I can exactly pick out, it still sounds cool, which is really what I look for when I'm listening to music is, does it sound cool? I know it's pretty not like the best way to listen to music, but that's just what suits me, and everything on here sounds pretty cool, you know? After that is All Alone, which sort of brings it back to the cartoonishness because it does go away a little bit on November Has Come and Every Planet We Reach Is Dead because it's focused more on for the former sounding really like low key and for the latter sounding as big as possible. Great rap feature and the sort of calm part that comes in sounds really great too with the female vocals. White Light is a little bit of a weak spot for me. It's not a bad song by any means. I just think that like there aren't quite enough like vocal licks or anything on it to really make it interesting or something that like I'd want to listen to on its own. Because every other song on here, I'd play on like any radio, and I just love it because they sound so great. But on here, it's sort of just like the only lyrics are pretty much just white light, do 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 do, and it's like you couldn't have done a little bit more effort. I do get like the in-universe context for it that they made up, but it is just not very good. And I feel like the structure of it is sort of just like a watered down version of All Alone. After that, of course, though, we have Dare, which is another big hit on this album. It doesn't work as much for me. I think that's just because it's been overplayed too much, but it's still a really great song. It's got this sort of glitter to it that I've come to expect from albums by them, like Plastic Beach, sort of what they go on to do. So it was quite a bit ahead of its time, in my opinion, for their sound at least. Um, yeah, and the features on here are all great. Uh, Mr. Albarn hardly does any singing on here. It's in fact that he doesn't do any. It's all features, and you definitely notice, but you don't care because the features are just so great. And the beat sort of like starts and stops whenever it feels like it. And there's all these little embellishments all throughout that also make it sound really great. After that, Fire Coming Out of the Monkey's Head is this great spoken word over instrumental song. It's got these great hums in the background that I always hum along to instead of, reading off the lyrics because the hums sound really great, and I like to listen to the lyrics on their own because they are really great, sort of talking about, how foreign countries exploiting these sort of more poor countries for for their riches like oil and stuff, and just destroying them in the process. And after every sort of verse of spoken word, there's some 2D vocals that come in. 2D being the in-universe singer for this. I haven't really talked about it, the singing too much on this album, but it is pretty one-dimensional, which isn't a bad thing. It's sort of like with Ghost, where like the point is to not be like extremely emotional. I mean, it definitely can be emotional where it wants to be on songs like El Mañana, but it goes with pretty flat delivery, just delivering the melodies straight out, which I think serves its purpose really well. So yeah, I think that song's great. After that is "Don't Get Lost in Heaven," where it has these sort of floaty piano chords playing, and these heavenly, obviously, choirs, choral vocals going on. Yeah, and then that transitions pretty seamlessly into Demon Days, where we get a lot more strings, and then eventually what turns into like this, I feel like, summery sort of melody to it, with first with the 2D vocals, and then with the sort of choir joining in. Although it doesn't really sound like the choir that we hear on the previous, it's a lot more sort of up to change, a lot more melodic. But yeah, I think that's about all I have to say on this album. Thanks for watching. I wouldn't consider it the best Gorillaz album. I'll talk about that tomorrow. But definitely give it a listen. It is a really great introduction to Gorillaz as a whole. I'd give it like a 9 out of 10, because I do think some of the sometimes the production is a little bit uninteresting on songs like White Light, or maybe it just like a song needs just a little bit more to it to make it interesting. But I don't think that's like a consistent problem. Those are just like nitpicks, and I don't think it massively affects my overall enjoyment of this album. Yeah, so that's all I have to say. Thanks for watching.